Dandy's World has many different toons to play as, from the simple starters to little changes in stats with unique abilities, to the mains with extra stats and abilities with the sacrifice of a heart. Of course, with 27 different toons, why not rank them all from the worst to the best, since I do have every single one mastered after all. Do keep in mind though, but this is not an objective tier list at all, and instead how much I personally enjoy playing as each of the toons. Now, starting off with the D tier being the toons that aren't too enjoyable to play for me. Well, first, just know that Yada was released around late in the scripting of this video, so she's not here. And when I mentioned Scraps buff because we knew about it, I haven't played with it yet. My least favorite toon to play as is actually not Shrimbo, but Scraps. Mainly because of the fact that I don't feel like Scraps can do a lot with her stat layout. Her extraction ability is okay, but with the worst skill check, so she feels a little slow when extracting. But then she's also slow, so despite her high stamina, I feel like it's too important to conserve it, so I end up with a toon that is slow at everything. Plus, her ability isn't that great outside of panic mode. It can help with getting places quicker, I guess, but that isn't actually useful when you're not being chased. But when you are being chased, you end up just bringing the twists to other people instead, so you really shouldn't do that in those situations. Now, while it's not out yet, she will be able to grapple on two machines as well. But this is gonna so not be that helpful with survival often. Genuinely, I just find playing as Scraps really boring due to her having just a general lack of abilities, which is quite the shame because I like her design quite a bit. And yes, I understand that maybe she isn't great because of being needed to unlock Goob, but I feel like she should be able to be her own toon. Also, because some people may argue that her movement speed isn't bad, but when being chased you're gonna need stamina, so you can't waste it. And it doesn't help with distracting because of her slow movement speed, unlike Baba who's able to distract decently easily despite having only 3-star movement speed. Okay, well, I still don't like playing as Shrimbo all that much. I mean, it's Shrimbo, all of his stats are awful. There is a reason why he's higher than Scraps though. Shrimbo as a toon is actually challenging, so he isn't always boring, unlike Scraps who, at least to me, isn't all that hard to play, and ends up just boring. But yeah, Shrimbo still isn't that fun to me because of his stats, even though it can be a fun challenge sometimes. Also, his existence is just really fun to me. Nothing just to say about a toon that has the worst of every stat. On to C tier, then with the toons I decently enjoy. Not incredibly fun overall, but I definitely can enjoy them. Toodles as a toon really doesn't do a lot with her clearly being a good Stardew toon, since she's quite easy to obtain and having 4-star stealth with it causing extraction speed to be lowered. So when being chased you end up not having to worry as much about twisted, which at least personally isn't something I enjoy, especially with a toon with mostly basic stats like Toodles. Then her worst stat is extraction speed, which while I can deal with the slow extractor, she's nothing really good for me to balance out the slowness, being that I don't find the stealth to be needed. Then there's her ability, which is just a short random effect, so while it can be useful, it's not really reliable at all. Sure, you get movement while being chased, but I mean, I know what I'm doing, so I'm fine without it. Then extraction speed on a machine is nice, but that depends too much on luck, so I don't find it all that useful. Another toon that is definitely for starters is Roger. Similar to Toodles, he has a single star move from one stat to another, that being lowering movement speed and raising extraction speed. I do enjoy some slower toons, but Roger has never been someone I've enjoyed playing, with the higher extraction speed being nice, but still, I just don't find such a simple stat change here to be enough to make him a toon that I actually enjoy playing quite a bit. And then there's his passive ability, which gives double research sums. Instead of a total of 7% on each twisted per floor, it's 14% per twisted each floor. Personally, I only liked for the holiday event to get research done on Babette and Cole, but even then, I probably didn't have to. I mainly was getting a little burnt out for a little bit and just wanted to finish research. But then the thing with Roger is that once you finish research, his passive becomes completely useless. So until more twists are added, it's gonna keep being useless. Also, majority Roger players I find are annoying or useless, so I may just have a personal vendetta and not realize it as well. Cole is one of the distractor type toons, which I'm generally okay with. I'm not a distractor that often. I really just gotta be in a mood, and while it's hard to say why exactly, I just don't really enjoy playing as Cole outside of distracting. And even when it comes to distracting, there are just better options for me with their 3-star stealth, plus her ability ends up being pretty useless. Even if it was Pebblezoid active, it's still not that useful being able to allow everyone to see tape, research capsules, and items. It just isn't needed ever because those are really easy to find without using her ability. Hard to really say why I don't enjoy her, since her slow extraction speeds don't usually bother me and faster toons, but I just can't get pumped playing as Cole. Simple as that, I guess. Razzle and Dazzle are a hybrid toon where they can do multiple roles, that being both an extractor and a distractor due to their unique ability. At first, it may seem like they have base stats, but reading their ability, you see on odd floors they have 5-star movement speed and 1-star extraction speed, then it's switching on even floors. I already mentioned I'm not big when it comes to distracting, so on a Toon where I only can half the time, I'm not really going to be doing it that often anyways, and I'd rather just put on magnifying glass so I can have a trinket that up on all floors alongside ribbon spool, because of the 1-star movement speed the rest of the floors. Then, on even floors, I don't really find slow movement too annoying, but there's some stuff that don't work with them unlike Connie's do, so I don't end up feeling very useful when I play as them. I just don't find them to be very valuable of a pick over other Toons, mostly because of them being forced to switch between the two roles depending on the floor, and then their don't really go with the 1-star stat, especially when speed is the one that's low. Flutter is very similar to Cole's as they have the exact same stats, so I don't have much to say about her. It's pretty much just the same feeling of not being something I enjoy playing a ton. I'm not really sure why. And there's just better really. What's above not only Cold but also Razzle and Dazzle is that her ability is much more useful. A quick dash is convenient sometimes, but also helpful if I need to get twisteds off me, as well as when going to the elevator after distracting, tends the Toon speed up. A dash is just a really solid ability that really helps, especially on a distractor, but still not a big fan of playing as her, so. Moving off of the C tier, we have B tier. These are the Toons I enjoy to play, but not really a ton of fun, I guess. Briny has mostly pretty good stats with 4-star extraction speed and stamina, with 3-star movement speed and skill check making her pretty good, all things considered. The trade-off is that her stealth is pathetic, being 1-star. I of course enjoy that she's overall a pretty good Toon, since she can do machines fast and get away from Twisted without too much difficulty. She also glows in the dark and can make Twisted visible during blackouts with her ability, so she makes those much easier to play. However, you tend to be seen by Twisted quite often, which just gets really annoying. In solo run she isn't too bad, because there's usually a good chance you would have been seeing it anyways, but it still ends up being quite annoying. Then, with other players, whenever you could pass by someone who's being chased, they get onto you. So, you have a good chance to end up being chased, especially when there is no communication with where you are and who's being chased. At the very least, I do enjoy using the stealth to make sure others are safe getting into the elevator during panic mode, especially with Vanity Mirror. But overall, I have to be in the mood for Briny, similarly to how I am with Distracting. It's a good playstyle, but she just isn't always for me. Tegan is interesting because she is one of, if not the best Toons for solo runs, but not nearly as helpful in a team run, which is the part of the reason I don't enjoy her more than any of the other Toons. In a team, she has to take tapes, and unlike Sprout, it isn't used to support that team at all, although she can take twists from people being chased with her lower stealth and higher stamina, but that isn't really enough for me to really love playing as her. Plus, having a ton of extra heals isn't something I necessarily need. I mainly just like it when I'm solo because I feel like it's more likely for something bad to end up happening. Plus, you get a ton of tapes in those. I'm sure for people who really need the healing, it ends up being quite helpful, but I don't find it that useful outside of solos, which I don't do that often because I end up just getting bored when I'm alone a lot of the time. She's a really helpful Toon for some players, but I am not one of those players. Finn is a pretty simple Toon, losing 1 star of stamina to put into skill check, making him a pretty decent extractor. Although, I don't think his ability is all that helpful when it comes to survival. Usually, you don't leave primed machines around for Finn to do and get the boost from being chased. It's similar to Toodles where his ability is nice sometimes, but helpful not too often. Although he is a nice extractor, and I think he works well in solo runs, personally, so that's the way I tend to play him. He isn't too bad still because he is a pretty good extractor, and the lower stamina isn't a problem, but there is also a much better option which will of course be discussed later, but I'm sure most people already know who I'm talking about. Cosmo is the first of 3 healer Toons, and I do generally like being able to help the team when it comes to that. However, his 1-star skill check gets quite annoying, and I don't personally end up needing his 1-star stamina. Sure, it is helpful occasionally, but I know how to get the twisted off of me pretty easily, and he already has 4-star stealth, which helps with not taking damage because of him giving other players his hearts to heal them. I do enjoy being able to do that, but not only does his skill check just get really annoying like I mentioned, but similarly to Finn, there are just other options that I prefer, so these Toons end up getting put lower on the list. And while I know I could use thinking up on him to help with skill check, personally I prefer having like Demote to be helpful with extracting and use my stealth well when someone's distracting. And for the other slot, having something like Pink Bow to help with my survival is more useful. Plus, I can hit the skill check often enough. Like the others, he isn't too bad of a Toon, but I prefer using others instead. Goob isn't my first pick when I do decide to distract, but with his lower stealth I do like having him as an option. And he has 3-star skill check, so using trinkets lets him be a pretty good extractor, so here's that going for him as well. I enjoy being able to do both, even if for him, I usually have to decide fully at the start because he is still kind of slow overall and needs at least dog push to overwhelm commons. Still though, he is pretty fun to distract as all things considered. Then, while his ability isn't too helpful when distracting properly, it is nice to have when extracting, so I can get to the elevator before my teammates and pull them in. And when extracting, I can use my stealth and speed to take twisted off teammates for a little bit, but it can still be annoying when I don't want twisted on me. I do quite enjoy playing as him, but like the others I've been talking about, the stuff he does bet, I prefer other tunes to play that role instead. Poppy isn't considered to be all that great, really, mainly because she doesn't excel at anything with her basic stat, and has an ability that isn't that helpful. Although the ability does have its uses because plenty of times I will have multiple healing items and still die because I'm out of stamina. But getting the massive speed boost after getting hurt to prevent that, so while it's not the best, it isn't quite useless. Then I don't really care much about having basic stats because I can give her extraction trinkets and then she isn't too bad of a tune to me. Still though, because she doesn't excel at anything and her ability isn't that helpful, she doesn't go above other tunes. So I do like her and she has more uses than people may think. A pretty underrated tune really, being underestimated because of her being a starter most likely. Gigi is an interesting tune, having 5-star skill check but only having 1-star stamina, so stamina conservation is key while playing her. But it installs the machines pretty quickly and you should be fine if you get seen, if you know what you're doing, which I do. Pretty helpful tune really, and you can use water cooler if you want more stamina, since 100 is kinda low even if you can be fine with it. The real thing that makes Gigi fun, however, is her ability, with you getting a random item for each use. And unlike Toodle's random ability, you can keep the items, anything useful you get can stay in your inventory, or you can just use the items that aren't. Also, to be honest, gambling items is just really fun and the main reason I enjoy playing as her. But obviously, since she has a very specific gimmick, she's only number 14, and also the end of B tier. Time to go into the tunes I like to play as quite a bit. Babette, the first main tune on this list. She works well with her having 5-star stamina and 4-star skill check, with a plain 3-star movement speed, and 2-star stamina and extraction speed, with her stamina allowing her to take twists off others, and better distractors can distract as her pretty well for an entire floor. Plus her stealth helps with that, as well as making it easier to take twisted off of most tunes. Then, if you're having issues with getting twisted off of you, she can enter a box and hide from them, with you only not being able to move well inside of the box, so there will be times the twisted will still be by or right on you when you get out of it. Then Babette has the ability to extract as well, with her 4-star skill check already being good, and using participation award and magnifying glass allows her to do it pretty fast and makes up for her extraction speed being only 2 stars. I feel like with her fast extraction and good movement, she can support a team as well as work pretty well in solo runs. Of course, she doesn't absolutely excel at anything necessarily, and her abilities are not that great, with the box having the issue I mentioned previously, and unlike say Connie, Babette is fast enough to not need the box all that badly, and then her passive is a ring that makes allies regen stamina a lot faster, which isn't that great, mainly because since you're gonna both have to be moving and Babette's low stealth will usually cause her to take the twisted instead. Connie is very, very slow with only 1-star movement speed, and her skill check is also lower to 2 stars. Stamina is thankfully the base 3-star to help with her slow movement speed. Then she has a huge 5-star stealth and 4-star extraction speed. So unlike Razzle and Dazzle, when they are slow, Connie has both good stealth to help her not get into bad situations as often, and not have other tunes easily get twisted onto her. Plus, she has her ability, which I mentioned with Babette, being that she can go invisible for 5 seconds, and is able to move still, so she can get twisted off of her if she really needs to do so. Plus, she is still a pretty fast extractor even if she's technically slower than Razzle and Dazzle. So I prefer having a better time keeping myself safe with her stealth and ability compared to Razzle and Dazzle, who doesn't have anything else built to help the lower speed. Of course, being that she is so slow, I can only play her as her sometimes and have to really feel like it. Not really one of my first picks I don't know who to play as though. I still do enjoy playing as her quite a bit when I want to. Boxin, the starter tune usually considered to be much better, which admittedly does depend on who you can play with. Of course, just like Poppy, he has basic stats which really aren't bad, allowing you to do things well and not have any sort of struggles that other tunes may have. However, the reason he is a good bit higher than Poppy is because his passive ability is better, so I just would rather play as him most of the time. His passive gives him an increase in his extraction speed for each alive player, going up to a bit under 50%. So when you're even just 1 or 2 good players, he's a better extractor, and if they're a good amount of players pool alive, then even better. But that mostly helped with getting the earlier floors done quicker in public runs before people start to die. He's just a pretty good extractor, and while there are better tunes, he's pretty decent and fun to play. Another main Toon with Pebble, the only Toon to always have 5-star speed no matter health or floor. Now, I will say, I really enjoy being an extractive Pebble, basically having my trinket be Participation Award and Magnifying Glass, mainly because you can still distract most Toons. His walk speed no trinkets is the exact same as Twisted Chili and Toodles. The Twisted Pebble is the only real off-limits Twisted is for him. Since Glisten you shouldn't have to distract, Violet and Blackout Coal are event only, and then V can be bad depending on the other Toons. It can still help the team by distracting more annoying Twisteds like the Craft Siblings, or some of the faster Twisteds, and using his bark if someone is in a bad position and needs help is always an option too. When you don't need anyone distracting, Pebble with extraction trinkets can do them at a pretty good speed, really, so he's still helping the team. You don't need distractors who survive for quite a while at least, so he could be used well outside of that. Also, I enjoy Pebble in solo runs because he can get away from the Twisteds really easily. I'm not the fastest at extracting, he still does it well with the trinkets. He's a pretty good pick for those. Of course, being that he still plays a semi-distractor role, I don't play him often, and honestly, I feel like I'm gonna get yelled at for having extraction trinkets in public lobbies, so I only really use them without any randoms, and then he's not as useful during those. Finally, back to another healer after Cosmo being pretty middle in the list, but I really like playing as Ginger. To be fair, as I mentioned, part of the reason Cosmo is so low as he is because I just prefer Ginger's stats, alongside that his skill check is annoying. Ginger, similarly to Cosmo, has 4-star stealth, but for them since you don't want to be getting hit, so you can heal others instead. However, that is her only 4-star on that, unlike Cosmo having 4-star stamina as well, and her lowered stat is movement speed, leaving it at 2 stars and everything else 3 stars. I don't really find her lowered movement speed annoying for the way she is played, and she has higher stealth anyways, so unlike Cosmo's skill check, I don't find her stats to be an issue in any way. Plus, her ability is slightly changed, still being giving your heart to someone else with a much longer range and a 100-second cooldown instead of 60. The longer range is helpful with her lower speed, as well as it's nice to know where people are for things like machines or just in general. Then her ability being 40 more seconds really doesn't bother me at all, since her heals are so valuable anyways that there's no need to be healing back to back often. I just prefer Ginger over Cosmo by a lot, and do really enjoy playing her healer role quite a bit. Astro, our third main Toon, plays pretty much a full support role. Most of his stats are the basic 3 stars, but he has only 2 stars in skill check put into stealth, which at 5 stars because of having only 2 hearts, being that he is a main. That makes him not that fast of an extractor really, but he still can do well with his stats, and is less likely to get interrupted since he is so stealthy. The stealth is pretty nice honestly, since it lets you not have to deal with a Twisted as often as you may normally. Although risky machine sets can be extra risky, with them giving less time to go get out when a Twisted comes that direction. Still though, it does feel pretty nice to have it. He also really helps in panic mode and with distractors, since he can see when people have low stamina and we did it up to full with his ability, is why he has such high stealth and plays support really well. His stealth is also helpful with being able to do machines around the distractor's area without getting seen at all, and if the distractor wants, he can bring ones that escape, like how someone as low as Finn can do pretty easily. Also, his passive lets him regen stamina faster, so that also helps you not be in bad situations as often. He just plays a pretty fun role with teammates that I enjoy quite a bit, and his stealth is quite useful for any run. In fact, I used to play as him in solo runs quite a bit and ended up getting his mastery done pretty quickly for that. Still, his role is very specific, so he's only an A tier, still pretty high though of course. Glisten is a pretty fun Toon, since he has a full 5-star extraction speed, only sacrificing skill check and stealth both being 2 stars, so he has pretty good movement, which is nice. His stealth can be a little annoying, especially with a distractor, but he can still run away quickly enough for it to not be too big of a deal to me. Then his ability allows him to teleport, so you can always use that if you really need to. He really is just a very good extractor, and at least personally, I don't struggle that much with 2-star skill check, so the only stat that can actually bother me is the stealth, which, as I mentioned, his ability helps with. And it generally isn't that annoying to me, and it generally isn't that annoying to me as long as there isn't a distractor that just moves around the map, what they really don't need to, but that isn't really all that common, so his stealth basically isn't an issue to me. He's just a nice Toon with a good ability and good stats, and that caps off A tier, so on to my top favorite Toons in S tier, being my absolute favorites to play as. If I don't know who to play as but I want to play the game, I pick one of these 6. Tisha is genuinely a great Toon for a team, and is who I think any starter should buy first because her stats are just that good. I mean, playing her is how I first got good at the game before I started to get as good as I am now. Tisha loses a star in both her stamina and extraction speed, both having a 2-star, while her skill check and movement speed are both at 4 stars. Leaving her stealth as the only base stat, her skill check, especially with Magnifying Glass and Participation Award, makes her a pretty good extractor, but you don't need the trinkets for her to be a good extractor. Then she has good speed, making her have an easier time getting away from Twisted, and with Dog Push can outwalk a lot the common tunes, allowing her to distract. Her stamina is low, sure, but it's still enough to get away from twists and honestly helps players learn how to be conservative with their stamina. She is a great all-rounder that can do a lot. I personally like using magnifying glass and dog flesh to distract or save people if I have to, and I can get away pretty easily too. The magnifying glass just helps her extract faster, since she does still have 2-star extraction speed. Then her ability can be pretty good, giving teammates around her when she uses it a speed boost for a small amount of time, which helps both at the start of a floor and during panic time if you can, as well as any distractors like Louie or Goob that have lower stealth than her. This gives her a support role as well, so she can really do it all, whatever you desire, and it is why I love playing as her. This may be a hot take, but Rudy is number 5. I've mentioned this twice before that I personally enjoy the simple base stats of Poppy and Boxen, which Rudy also shares with them. So to keep this short, he may not excel at anything, but he can do a good job at what you want him to do, whether that is survival with machines as a bonus, or focusing on machines with also being able to survive well with good movement. However, Rudy has a cool ability being a dash, basically Flutter's ability. However, it is a little different. Flutter's dash brings you pretty far with a cooldown of 45 seconds, while Rudy's is a shorter distance with a tiny cooldown of 23 seconds. Now, as I mentioned, you can use trinkets for extracting or survival like Magnifying Glass, Participation Award, Pink Bow, perhaps even Vimo, but he has an extra trinket combo that also works very well on him, and specifically on him, to a point where even the separate trinkets aren't all that great outside of together on him. That being Ghost Snakes and Peppermint Icing. This makes Rudy's cooldown be only 18 seconds long, being able to go down to just 8 seconds with the cards between floors, so you can dash around quite a bit, which is not only fun, but helps with survival. Then Peppermint Icing brings 40 stamina. Then Peppermint Icing gives 40 stamina when an active ability is used. So if you need stamina, just do a dash and get some back, which makes this already fun, useful ability even better when you really need it. He's just so fun to play for me, being able to use my dash to pull Twisteds for a bit, even if that can be consequential to say the least. And come on, just look at him. He's such a silly, goofy guy. How could you not enjoy playing as him? Alright, back to mains, and there's just a few left. So here's Shelly. Shelly, similar to Astro, has one 5-star stat and a 2-star stat, with the rest being 3, since she has 2 hearts as well. However, she has 5-star skill check and 2-star stamina, basically being Finn but better skill check. I do enjoy her for just being a fast extractor, especially with Participation Award of Magnifying Glass, which you should have by the time you get her. So that allows her to be one of the fastest extractors, getting a constant boosted 5-star skill check. Then her stamina is slightly lower, not really being much of an issue if you know what you're doing, which I do. And really anyone who has Shelly should, since you have to have Tisha mastered, and you have to usually have played a pretty good amount to unlock her, so that already makes a pretty great Toon, and I haven't even brought up her abilities. Her passive is similar to Finn's, with getting a speed boost when a machine is completed, but it's only 25% instead of 33%. Still can help, but not really super often, so it's an okay passive. Then her active is really good for a team, which has her gives a 75% extraction speed boost to Toon, letting them complete machines a lot faster. This is really helpful for just getting floors done quicker, especially on slower extractors like a Sprout or an Astro, which have good reason to extract but are a bit slower. Shelly is just a really great Toon at getting machines done quickly, and is one of the best Toons to have multiple of, since the boost will be pretty helpful at getting things done quickly, and she is quite fun to play as since she is so good. Another main and it is V. V is the fastest extractor in the game, since she has not only a 5-star extraction speed, but a 4-star skill check. However, she sacrifices not only a heart, but has 2-star movement speed and stealth, so she has to be careful when traversing the map or going to distractors. But I know what I'm doing, so I really enjoy having her extremely fast extraction abilities. Then, what makes that even better is her passive allows her to see the nearest machine that is not completed, so her movement speed and stealth are even less of an issue since you know where to go a lot of the time. And what is really nice is that the color changes from green to white if someone is already on the machine, so you won't go over to a machine and then see it's being done. And when there is one machine left, you know if you have to be getting to the elevator, usually before people would end up saying, which also helps with her poor movement and stuff. Her active ability also helps with that as well as for all teammates. She highlights all the Twisteds in a pretty big range, and further away Twisteds still have Twisted with an arrow above them, so everyone knows where the Twisteds are on the map. Basically being Brightney's ability, but it can be used anytime instead of just a blackout. Really, V is amazing at distracting, and then both her abilities can help in ways with her war stats, making them not be nearly as much of a problem as they can, especially for people who know what they're doing, which, as I said plenty of times, I do. So she doesn't feel too bad to play at all, and is instead really fun. Louie is a pretty unique and all-around great Toon. Starting off, Louie has simple stats only going down to 2-star stealth for 4-star skill check, which is already pretty good, but his passive ability is game-changing. When at full, he has 3-star movement speed, however at 2 hearts, he is slightly faster than 4 stars and slightly faster than 5 stars when at 1 heart. This allows him to be able to distract pretty well as long as he's hurt, and his 2-star stealth helps with keeping the Twisteds on yourself, and depending on your skill level, you can go down to 1 heart if you need more speed, and if you have a healer, you can communicate that you need a heal to go back to 4 stars. However, unlike Pebble, Louie actually has good base extraction ability since he has the basic speed and high skill check, so he can really play a hybrid role very well using Dog Plus and Magnifying Glass. And you won't always be a 5-star speed, and are already a fast extractor, so you don't need participation award as well, unless you're going into full extracting, which you definitely can. Louie just does what I like about Pebble, but even better because his passive and base stats. And he's really good in solos because once you're hurt, you're pretty fast. And as I said, he's a fast extractor, actually being the fastest out of any distractor Toon. He's a goofy guy and I love him lots and lots, and his playstyle is very unique and very fun for how I personally enjoy playing the game. I want to say more because I love him just so much, but what else even is there? It's pretty self-explanatory how good he is, and that's what I like about him. So, my favorite Toon is Sprout, being the only Toon I actually call myself a main of, even if maybe I could on some others at this point. Sprout is similar to Flutter and Cole with 2-star skill check and extraction speed with 4-star movement speed and 5-star stamina, getting the extra star because main Toon. It's hard to really say why I love playing as Sprout, but I can't get behind the others honestly, but I just do. His abilities are most likely why, since he is the last healer Toon, being able to spend 100 types to heal an ally. And with his passive, he can see where everyone is with their hearts, as well as how many hearts they have left with an icon for full, 2 hearts on non-mains, and 1 heart. His heal is obviously helpful since it keeps people alive, and all you need is to be able to pick up tapes off the ground as well as keeping them for completing floors and dip machines. His passive is not only nice to constantly know people's health, but also sometimes knowing where people are can be very helpful. Personally, the way I like to play as him is extracting role, using V-Mode to get some tapes and do at least 1 machine each floor since he is pretty slow, but also with Magnifying Glass to help with getting machines done for tapes. I would only really use Dog Plush over Magnifying Glass if I'm a backup distractor and a run meant to go really long, since his abilities makes me feel like extracting is a lot more helpful. I just enjoy being able to help teammates, and it keeps us going for longer with his heals. And while I still can't explain why I don't like the other 2-star skill check and extraction speed Toons, I actually really enjoy playing as Extractor Sprout since it helps me get more tapes for more healing, and he just matches the way I like to play very well, and he has been my favorite Toon to play pretty much since I first got him really, and I'm proud to call myself a Sprout main. So here is the final list, and I appreciate anyone who's actually watched all the way through this video because I had plenty of fun making it, and hey, maybe consider helping this video out do even better with a like, or even my entire channel with a subscription, and don't be scared to tell me your opinions in the comments, but do keep in mind this is how much I enjoy playing as these Toons and not an objective tier list.